across the world. Some structures have been placed in locations that make us ask not only, how did they build this? But also, why would anyone choose this exact spot? Some extend over drops hundreds of meters deep, while others stand in the middle of the sea, inside caves, or on isolated rocks, almost completely separated from the surrounding ground. What makes them extraordinary is not necessarily that they are dangerous today, but the sense of exposure and the enormous engineering challenges created by their locations. Continuing our journey through dangerous structures you won't believe exist, we explore 10 places where architecture seems to stand right at the limits of terrain and gravity. Dachstein's Stairway to Nothingness, Austria. On Austria's Dachstein Glacier, a steel staircase with 14 steps leads visitors down to a small glass platform projecting from the mountain, with a drop of roughly 300 feet opening directly beneath it. The name Stairway to Nothingness begins to make perfect sense. On the final steps, where the mountain suddenly disappears ahead and nothing seems to remain except glass, sky, and valleys far below. The attraction sits at the end of a high-altitude suspension bridge, so the experience is deliberately designed to increase the sense of exposure before visitors finally step onto the transparent viewing platform. Although photographs make the staircase look like it descends directly into an abyss, it is a professionally engineered and protected observation point rather than an improvised mountain pathway. The contrast between a strong steel structure and the visual sensation of stepping into empty space makes this one of the most vertigo-inducing attractions in the Alps. Of all the structures in this video, would this be the one that makes you most afraid to look down? Predjama Castle, Slovenia. In Slovenia, Predjama Castle does not stand on an ordinary hilltop, but directly inside the mouth of a cave in a cliff rising about 400 feet above the surrounding landscape. For more than 8 centuries, architecture and natural rock have been so closely combined that the rear of the castle almost disappears into the cave system hidden inside the mountain. Its unusual location provided a major defensive advantage during medieval times because the caves behind the castle offered additional shelter, water, storage areas, and hidden routes during a siege. From the front, visitors see only a castle facade clinging to a cliff, while behind it lies an underground world that makes the visible building feel like only the entrance to a much larger fortress. What makes Predjama extraordinary is not simply its height, but the way its builders turned a natural cave into part of the castle's foundation and defensive system. Does this look more like a castle to you, or a cave transformed into a fortress? Monte Rosa Hut, Switzerland. At an elevation of about 459 feet near Zermatt, the Monte Rosa Hut appears among ice and snow like a giant metallic crystal dropped into a landscape almost completely separated from modern civilization. Reaching the refuge requires crossing glacial terrain, which means visitors need suitable experience and equipment or appropriate professional guidance before they can even arrive at the building. The five-story structure was created using prefabricated timber components that were transported into the mountains by train and helicopter because conventional construction at this altitude would have been extremely difficult. Its aluminum shell, solar systems, and energy management technology allow the hut to achieve a high level of self-sufficiency in an environment where electricity, water, and heat cannot be supplied as easily as they can in the valley below. From a distance, the Monte Rosa Hut looks like a building from the future. Yet what makes it remarkable is how completely modern technology has been forced to adapt to a landscape still controlled by glaciers, snow, and extreme alpine weather. Where are you watching this video from? And what time is it there right now? Let me know in the comments below. Xiaolangdi Dam, Henan, China. At Xiaolangdi on the Yellow River, one of the most spectacular sights does not occur when the reservoir is calm, but when the dam begins releasing enormous flows of sediment-filled water downstream. The Yellow River carries extraordinary amounts of sediment, so accumulated silt can alter the riverbed and gradually reduce reservoir capacity if it is not carefully managed. During water and sediment regulation operations, controlled flows are released to help move deposited material through the reservoir and carry sediment farther downstream through the river system. During the 2026 regulation operation, releases continued for 19 days, with peak discharge reaching roughly 990 cubic meters per second, and extremely high concentrations of sediment moving through the system. Seen from above, the enormous brown torrents exploding from the dam can resemble an uncontrolled flood, yet they are actually part of an engineered strategy for managing one of the most sediment-heavy rivers on Earth. Does this look more like a dam operating normally or a river suddenly breaking loose? Charles Kuonen Suspension Bridge, Switzerland. Near Randa in the Swiss Alps, the Charles Kuonen Suspension Bridge stretches 494 meters across the Graben-Gufer ravine, with its highest point hanging roughly 85 meters above the terrain below. The sense of exposure becomes even stronger because the walking surface is only about 65 centimeters wide and uses an open, steel grating design that allows hikers to see directly through the bridge beneath their feet. The bridge was designed as a lightweight structure using powerful steel cables to carry a span nearly half a kilometer long without requiring a series of large supporting towers across the ravine. From the center, both ends can appear surprisingly distant, while the peaks of the Mata Valley surround the walkway, creating the illusion of a thin path suspended in mid-air. Although the bridge looks delicate, it was engineered for pedestrian stability, and much of the fear comes from the transparent design refusing to hide the depth beneath you. Would you look down through the bridge, or keep your eyes fixed on the other side? Glacier Skywalk, Alberta, Canada. On the edge of Alberta's Sunwapta Valley, the Glacier Skywalk forms a curved glass observation platform extending from the cliff, with the landscape roughly 918 feet below the feet of visitors. A walkway of about 1 kilometer leads through the Rocky Mountain scenery before ending at the attraction's most dramatic feature, the transparent platform projecting over the valley. Once visitors step onto the glass, the surface beneath them seems to disappear, leaving rock, forest, and the valley floor apparently positioned directly below their bodies. Unlike a bridge designed to take people somewhere else, the Skywalk intentionally carries visitors away from the cliff and then ends over empty space, making the absence of a destination part of the experience. Engineering makes the platform a controlled observation structure, but visually, the sensation is completely different because a sheet of transparent material appears to be the only thing separating visitors from a drop hundreds of meters deep. Would you rather enjoy this view from a glass platform or from solid ground? Veringsfossen Bridge, Norway. At Veringsfossen, a stepped steel bridge crosses the Bjorio River within a landscape where the water eventually plunges about 182 meters into the dramatic Molbodalen Valley below. Rather than constructing a simple flat crossing, designers created a structure with changing levels and steps, turning the act of crossing the river into part of the waterfall experience itself. The bridge forms part of more than a kilometer of protected walkways, viewpoints, and crossings developed to give visitors controlled access to this powerful landscape from new perspectives. From the bridge, the roar of the water can become so intense that visitors may feel the force of the waterfall before even looking into the deep gorge below. What makes the structure memorable is that it does not attempt to separate visitors from the terrain, but instead places the route directly among rock, moving water, and empty space, so that the full height of Veringsfossen becomes part of the journey. Does the bridge make the waterfall more impressive, or does the waterfall make the bridge feel more frightening. Tokyo Bay Aqualine, Japan. The Tokyo Bay Aqualine stretches roughly 15 kilometers, but instead of using only a bridge or only a tunnel, Japanese engineers divided the route into about 10 kilometers of undersea tunnel and 5 kilometers of bridge above the water. The two sections meet at Umihotaru, an artificial island in the middle of Tokyo Bay where vehicles effectively transition from traveling beneath the seabed to driving above the ocean during the same journey. Farther along the tunnel stands Keiji Notu, a ventilation tower built on another offshore artificial structure to serve the roadway hidden deep below the bay. Completed in 1997, the Aqualine dramatically shortened travel between Kawasaki and Kisarazu while placing a major transportation corridor inside an environment exposed to seawater, strong winds, and the complex geological conditions of Tokyo Bay. What makes the Aqualine feel almost impossible is not an extraordinarily high bridge, but the idea that thousands of vehicles can disappear beneath the sea and then emerge again onto a bridge in the middle of the bay. Of all 10 places in this video, which structure surprised you the most when you realized humans actually managed to build it?